And with only 7 days left until the historic U.S. presidential polls, the race remains fiercely competitive between Democrat Kamala Harris and Republican Donald Trump. Harris kicked off her final campaign efforts in Philadelphia, connecting with voters and spotlighting crucial issues such as reproductive rights. On the other hand, Donald Trump held a rally in New York, facing opposition as he reiterated his focus on immigration and economic concerns. Both candidates are pulling out all stops. Harris has garnered notable endorsements from celebrities like Eminem and Beyonce, and Republican Trump continues his pitch against migration. About 41 million Americans have already voted ahead of the November 5th elections, and U.S. President will cast his vote in Delaware soon too. Now, the only question is who will claim the presidency in the U.S. come November 5th.
Only 7 days remain for the historic United States presidential elections 2024. The race remains tight, with the Democrat presidential candidate Kamala Harris and her Republican rival Donald Trump locked in a neck-and-neck race. Kamala Harris kicked off her final campaign push in Pennsylvania as she spoke to the voters at a rally in the biggest city, Philadelphia.
The election is here, and the choice, Philly, is truly in your hands. The path to victory runs right through all the leaders who are here.
In a ground game of campaigning, Democrat Harris also hit the streets of Philadelphia. She made multiple stops in the city, rolled up to Philly Cut's barbershop in the largely black neighborhood, hugged voters, and addressed a church service in the city.
I see faith in action all over, everywhere I go. I see remarkable acts. I see a nation determined to turn the page on hatred and division, to chart a new way forward. I see Americans from so-called red states and blue states who are ready to bend the arc of history toward justice.
Meanwhile, Republican Donald Trump accused Kamala Harris on Sunday of destroying the country as he campaigned in his hometown of New York at Madison Square Garden.
Next Tuesday, you have to stand up and you have to tell Kamala Harris that you've done a terrible job, that crooked Joe Biden has done a terrible job. You've destroyed our country. We're not going to take it anymore. Kamala, you're fired. Get out, get out. You're fired.
SpaceX CEO Elon Musk, Melania Trump, VP nominee Vance, political supporters also took the center stage during the rally.
It's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah, I think it's called Puerto Rico.
Comment made by Trump supporter, comedian Tony Hinchcliffe drew massive backlash after he referred to Puerto Rico as a floating island of garbage. Following this, Donald Trump's campaign distanced itself from the comedian's comments, saying Hinchcliffe's statement doesn't reflect views of Trump or his campaign. While Trump made his final pitch to the people in New York, dozens of anti-Trump demonstrators gathered to protest his rally, raised slogans calling Trump a fascist.
No, I'm a man.
The Harris campaign has made this week all about getting the bling on the star power. She has been endorsed by Eminem and has appeared next to Beyonce on stage. Harris has spoken in Blue Wall Swing State, Michigan, with star campaigner Michelle Obama as well. Harris's campaign is focusing on playing on her strength issues, especially reproductive laws. Trump, on the other hand, is focusing on immigration and the economy. More than 41 million Americans have already voted in early in-person voting or via mail ballots by midday on Sunday. United States President Joe Biden will also cast his vote in his home state, Delaware, as per reports, ahead of November 5th elections. As the candidates wrap up their final pitches in swing states, Harris and Vice Presidential nominee Tim Walz will next host a campaign rally and concert in Ann Arbor, a college town in Michigan. Meanwhile, Trump is all set to address Atlanta. He will begin with a speech at the National Faith Summit and conclude with a rally in Georgia Tech. The nail-bitingest presidential campaign will finally end on 5th November, with the United States either choosing the first woman president or the oldest ever.
All right, Don Ritter, a former Republican member of the House of Representatives in the U.S., is joining us live. We also have Scott Talon, Assistant Professor, School of Communication, live with us. Let me quickly bring you in here first. Don Ritter, it's very, very interesting, of course, U.S. election. Interestingly, Kamala Harris concentrating on the black voter the last few days, also concentrating on celebrity blitz for a campaign. Meanwhile, Donald Trump concentrates on the issues that he's been speaking about time and time again. How do you view their focus areas in the last few days?
Well, I think the election is very close because not so much of the issues are playing some kind of secondary role in this election to personalities. I think Kamala Harris supporters are voting more for her, not on the issues, but because they hate Donald Trump and they have problems with his oversized, very, how we say, very large personality. And that is motivating a great deal of the Democratic Party vote. It's anti-Trump. Whereas the Trump voters are very pro-Trump as opposed to being anti-Harris. So that is one dynamic that's less well understood. On the issues, Trump should be winning by 20 points because he has very large leads on the economy, on inflation, on the border, and on the foreign policy, or the general idea that the world has gone on fire since the election of Biden-Harris. So she has the big advantage on abortion. And abortion plays a major role at the margin in the 2022 elections, which should have been a red Republican wave. It was a tiny trickle because women voted on the abortion issue in the extreme. Now, this is a presidential election. It's very different than a congressional election alone. Of course, congressional elections go together with the presidential. But I think it needs to be known that on the issues that are big in the minds of the American people, Donald Trump wins hands down on every one except for abortion. And abortion, by the way, they claim it's an issue of reproductive rights. That is the way the terminology has been put forth. But in a way, it's freedom to abort babies and kill babies. That's the other side of the coin, which is not overly well discussed. It's a very divisive issue, could prove very important at the final vote.
Okay, let me quickly rope in Scott Taylor as well. Scott, as far as, of course, Scott, can you hear me? Okay, I think we've just lost Scott Taylor's connection. Unfortunately, we will try and rope him in shortly. But Don Ritter, quickly coming back across to you, how confident are you that your party nominee is likely to win the important swing states? Because that's what it all boils down to, isn't it?
Well, it looks very, very close. Again, in Michigan, you have the automobile industry, which has been decimated over time and recently by the administration's regulatory attempt to kill gas-powered cars and replace them by a mandate, really, with electric vehicles, which many people are not interested in buying. They want to stick with their so you have that issue, which is very much in favor of Trump. In Michigan, you have an Arab population, which is very upset with the Biden administration's, Harris administration's views on Israel. and support for Israel, even though the Republicans feel that they haven't been strong enough in supporting Israel and have withheld certain large munitions to pressure Israel to find ceasefire, whereas Israel wants to win the war. And Republicans want to win the war, and the Biden administration wants a ceasefire. They're very concerned about the Arab American vote in places like Detroit, Dearborn, Hamtramck, and what have you. Then you have Wisconsin, which is the ultimate swing state, and is 50-50 registrations, Republicans and Democrats. The issues will be the issues I mentioned, and it's really hard to tell how it's going to break. What I can say is the other state is Pennsylvania, and the Green New Deal and the attempt by the Biden administration through regulatory means to get rid of fossil fuels, meaning fracking, which is very big in Pennsylvania. Northwest Pennsylvania is an energy state unto itself, tapping into the Marcellus shale field, which is one of the greatest shale gas fields in the world. So that the Kamala Harris campaign has been saying that they're not interested in banning fracking, but that's what they've been doing for almost 4 years now. Okay, the regulatory pinch on emissions like CO2, which some people say is very good for the planet. It greens the planet, but others say that it's going to destroy the planet. As a engineering doctorate from Massachusetts Institute of Technology, I go along with the idea that these greenhouse gases are not killing anything. In fact, they're greening the planet. But the bottom line is they have spent almost 4 years seeking to destroy fossil fuels, to curtail permitting new natural gas power plants, to spending hundreds of billions of dollars promoting solar and wind. So the bottom line is that issue, but I believe that the Harris campaign has obfuscated the fracking issue. They say they're not going to ban it, but no one's talking about banning it. That would be unconstitutional to take down a gigantic industry. That would there's no such legislation in the mill to do that. What you do is you make it impossible.
Yes, we spoke about Kamala Harris's star campaigners. Let's talk about Donald Trump's as well. Elon Musk has, of course, been his biggest star campaigner this time around. How do you see that support translating on ground, Don Ritter?
I didn't get the question.
How do you see Elon Musk's, steadfast support translating into votes for Trump on ground?
I'm still not getting, I'm sorry, I'm not getting.
Can you hear my voice? Can you hear me?
Could you repeat the question?
I'm trying to talk about Elon Musk.
Elon Musk.
Yes,
okay.
Elon Musk's support for Donald Trump. How do you see that translating into votes for him?
Well, I think it has substantially encouraged the Republican base that may have some doubts about Trump because of his personality. I also think that it has infused some new energy into that Republican base. And I think that the liberal Democrats who've been buying Teslas have to some extent stopped buying them. But I think it infuses a level of sophistication and energy into the Trump campaign. I am not sure whether it wins new votes, but it probably encourages existing votes. Hello?
Absolutely, yes. Okay, now if we talk about, of course, the most closest state, which you believe, as you're saying, Don Ritter, is going to go down to the wire. It's very, very close. Which do you believe are going to be those crucial states which could sway the election this time around?
Well, I think Pennsylvania, by the way, I was a congressman from Pennsylvania, so I for 14 years, I know this state very well. It's going to come down, Pennsylvania is the most important state. The eastern side of Pennsylvania, the Philadelphia area, is a very, very different place than the western side, the Pittsburgh area. Pittsburgh is area, and western Pennsylvania is manufacturing, it's energy, it's more conservative, it's more rural. The Philadelphia area is very democratic, and they're going to try to win the election by getting out the vote big time in Philadelphia. It's kind of easier for Democrats to get out their vote. You should know that. This is a unreported and less than understood element in the election coming up. If your vote is concentrated in deeply urban areas, which is what the Democrat vote is, if you look at a map of red versus blue, Republican versus Democrat, the Democrat vote are little islands of blue in the midst of a giant red American map. But the concentration of population is enormous, and that's how they get their votes. So it's easier to go through, like the housing projects and get people to register and then get them out to vote by a good ground game, which has lots of volunteers and paid staff going after people and getting them to the polls or getting their absentee ballots out to the election offices. So in terms of voter turnout, another issue is a lot of Trump support are potentially first-time voters. And the question is, will they actually come out to vote? They love to go to the rallies, what have you, but are they going to be voting? And that's a question I have. So, okay. It's a very complicated race, and it's hard to say who's going to win. If Trump can get the voters out that like him, he could probably win because his voters like him more than Kamala Harris's voters like her, except Kamala Harris's voters dislike Trump. So, personality is playing an oversized, that's what I want to emphasize, an oversized role in this election, in that people are voting against Trump because he is Trump. And people are voting for Trump because he is Trump. And that's why it's kind of 50-50 going into the election. By the way, India...
Stay with us. We want to quickly rope in some more statistics as well that are emerging regarding the US presidential contest 2024. Let's quickly bring it up over here. So this is where things stand as of now. This is what ABC and Ipsos are saying. They're predicting it's very, very close, but 51% likely Harris will win, 48% Donald Trump. Let's show you about what CBS is saying currently, and YouGov. They're giving a slight, very, very slight edge to Harris at 50% and Donald Trump at 49%. As you can see over there, of course, if we talk about CNN and SSRS, again, extremely close, down to the wire. Slight edge to Harris at 48% and Donald Trump standing at 47%, of course. Now, if we talk about CNBC's poll, well, they are actually giving the edge to Donald Trump at 48% compared to Harris at 46%. If we talk about the Wall Street Journal, WSJ, well, what are they saying? Well, they are also giving a slight edge, very, very close, but slight edge to Donald Trump at 47% and Harris standing at 45%. Well, this is where, of course, things have looked like for, of course, the Democrat and Republican camp since 2023 to 24. You can see there how things have, of course, been going up and down, up and down, up and down. Donald Trump, of course, been leading, according to Wall Street Journal, pretty much steadily, came very close in August and September. But they're saying that he's pushed slightly ahead of Harris. And of course, you can see here where Biden, of course, stood at way below Trump. Harris made that gap go, of course, very, very close. And she came slightly above Trump. But then the WSJ predicting in October, she's dipped below him once again by 3 points. So those are some key statistics, of course, and details emerging. Don, yes, you coming in earlier. And of course, you were saying it's very, very close. But the polls also showing that, Don Ritter. It's very, very close, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, it is very close. And I think the Democrats have a much larger turnout machine. And the Republican turnout machine is something brand new. It's not necessarily been tested. And if turnout is going to be decisive, the Democrats will win. If the issues are decisive, probably the Republicans will win. As I said, the main issues in the campaign go with the Republican side, the world on fire, energy and the economy, and border is enormous. But Trump's personality depresses moderate types of voters.
Yes.
And see what happens there.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.